Okay, here's another rehash running through Photoshop. I'm going to try and take my time and go a little slower here. Don't have anything really scripted out, so we'll just work a little bit at a time. Alright, Photoshop open. I don't know how you have your page set up. There's a different way you can set up your screen, which however you do, it's up to you. This is what I use here, and that gives me this layout. Let's open up a couple files. This is that M42 I did a little while back. Let's see. I'll do a little. That's what I'm using for my background. And this is actually the big shot. I'm doing a little stretching right off the bat here. So we're going to go into adjustments, levels. Just bring these up a little bit at a time. Kind of tease them up. Now you're going to see in this histogram, I didn't do any type of color calibration over in PixInsight. I stacked everything, and that's about it. Came out pretty clean. This is the one where I did like 41-minute shots with my Newt. But you'll see as I start bringing up, you'll see these colors start separating. I'm just going to bring it up big enough to see here. Alright, once I get it up to where I can see the background pretty good, to balance these out, it's real easy. Just come into your levels, and you can go by channel right here. So my red's already pretty high. Let's bring the green down to match up with the red. And then I'm going to bring the blue down and match it up with the other two. Say, okay, that's getting me pretty close to being balanced. I can set a white point here. If I pick one of my stars, come into curves, click on your white eyedropper here, and pick the center of one of your stars. This is going to set your white balance. Okay. Okay, I already had to pause there, I had to sneeze. Okay, let's work on our levels a little bit more. There's, when you talk about clipping, that's getting too close over here. Try and leave your point out about here somewhere. Okay, you can see I got a little bit of a border going on there. We can get rid of that. Crop tool. Just bring that down a little bit. At this point, we're going to go ahead and hit the Hasta La Vista green. That'll take out some of the green cast from the RGB setup of the chip. Alright, let's see where I'm at. I don't know if I want to... I'm going to be kind of overstretching this here because I want to go after some of that background furriness out here. Now, if you haven't got that Astro Flat Pro, this came out pretty flat, but I just used some generic flat, so I do have a little bit of gradients going on. That Astro Flat Pro is pretty handy. You can use that or Gradient Exterminator, either one. This one a little easier to use. Go down here. And in here, I generally leave these two alone. This dark noise reduction can take out some bad background noise if you want to. I don't really care for it. It seems like it adds just a different type of noise. This smoothness is what's going to make your difference here. And I've got this set up in an area. See, that's way too much. Not enough. Just going to flatten it out a little bit. Okay, and you'll see that took off some of the, kind of flattened out the dark area. So we can go ahead and give it another little touch here. Alright, let's go with that for now. Now I've blown out the cord pretty good, but we'll fix that later. Now for starters, I know you want to do layer masks. I'll show you how to set one up in your actions over here. Let's go ahead and close this. This is stuff that I already have set up. Let's make a new one. So first of all, to make a group, we're going to put a new set here. So let's call it Casca. So we have a whole empty new box here. Now we're going to record an action. That would be here. And it's going to go into the Casca set. Let's call it layer mask. Alright. And what we're going to do, we're recording now. I hit record. Okay, first step, duplicate it. Okay, so this is now our background copy. And we're going to put a layer mask in here. Layer mask, hide all. Okay, now anytime you want to get in here, once you've come out of it, it's Alt, click to get back into it. That's the mask. Okay, these are your friends. Control A is select all. Control C is copy. So we just copied this. We're going to Alt click to get back into our mask and hit Control V to paste it. Alright, now we've been recording this whole time. So what I want to do is stop recording. Alright, there's all the things we just did right there under layer mask. So in the future, you want to toss it, just come down here, throw it in the trash can. That gets rid of that whole layer. If you want a layer mask, all you do is click it, hit play. Boom, you got a layer mask. Alright, we're going to be standard layer mask. Any adjustments we're going to do are in this white area. Black is protected, white isn't. When you're messing with the levels on this, it doesn't matter if you clip or anything else, you're just messing with the mask. As long as you're in this box, and that's the Alt click to get in there, you're only messing with the mask. So if I want more of the nebula to be exposed and less of the background, you can play with this mask. Right now, only that area right there. Not only, but it's a percentage, but it's primarily going to work in here. On your standard layer mask, usually, almost always the default will work, but let's go ahead and trim the background back a little bit, brighten up the nebula a little bit. Okay. Now, when you click over here, anything you're going to work on is going to work on the nebula. So at this point, if I stretch it or do curves or anything else, anything I do in here, it's going to primarily affect the nebula. Let's go ahead and jack up the curves a little bit. If I want to keep this from blowing out any worse, you can anchor this down, right, and then just come into this area here, and you'll see it's bringing out this other stuff without really blowing out the core too bad, because this is like the white down to dark. If you want to look and get at a particular area, say you want this shade of red to come out more, you can just take your eyedropper out here and just click, and you'll see there on the line, that's where that red is at. So I could actually bring this down, click here, okay, that's the area I need to bring up, and that will pick up in that area. If I want more of this, see, I can bring that up. Alright, let's say okay on that. Okay, so that's mostly working with the foreground. Satisfied with anything you've done, just right click it, flatten image. Okay, so you're back where you started. You've already got your layer mask built. If you want to do an inverted layer mask, it's pretty simple, right? When it pops right up there, just hit Control-I. Now you got an inverted layer mask. You're going to protect the nebula and primarily work on the background. Again, you can come in. Now I really want to protect the nebula, so I'm protecting it with black, and then I want to work on the background. This is where you do noise reduction, so you're primarily killing noise in the background. Or in this case, I can come in and drop the levels on the background without affecting the nebula as much. So I can come in here and start dropping the background down while leaving the foreground protected. Say okay. I'm going to go ahead and drop it. I try and use one procedure at a time. You could do noise reduction right now also. One thing you don't want to do is flip back between inverted and, because see, I can come back in here, I'll click into the box, and I can invert it back to a layer mask, but now it is blowing out that stuff. So I'll try and take care of one thing at a time. Alright, I've changed the background where I've got a darker background. Just right click it, drop it. So it's nice to have that action in there. You can just pop up another one and do your layer mask. I'm going to invert it, Control-I. Set my levels up again. Alright, this one came out really clean, but I'm going to go ahead and just an example here. This one really doesn't need noise reduction, not like most of the stuff I usually do. But let's take a look. See, you zoom in and you can see some static in there. So this is another one I would recommend, is Topaz Denoise. Is what I use. I can run this. Now I've got a layer mask, so I'm working on the background. Let's see, let's go with fit. On this, you don't really need a lot. Overall strength, I'll usually use 0.10 or less. And then I'll go in and adjust the shadow up a little bit. Okay. Now you can see that did soften up the foreground pretty bad. So I'm going to back that off a little bit. Say okay. Now when we're doing this, we've got that mask on there, so it is still primarily working in the background. That's the inverted mask. And let's have a look. Now we can zoom in. Look at our background. And here, you have your opacity slider. You can come in here and see there's with no noise reduction at all. And you can just kind of pick this till you just get enough to, you don't want to blur stuff. See, there's a little grainy. A little more, let's bring her up about, say about there. Okay, flatten image. Pink. So there we did some noise reduction. Let's see, I'm going to pause for a second, have a cigarette.